Welcome to Season 6 of Hoda's Career Info. Thank you for your continued engagement and trust. A question for you. What career literacy questions would you like our next guests to explore? Today's guest is Sonny Wong. I'm your host, Hoda Kilani, career and academic coach. Stay tuned as I build on your continued support. Let's go.
Career counseling is not a motivational coffee chat. How are you going to sustain yourself if you're only looking at the unemployed person and not the human in the room? There's a lot of talk about AI, but there's very little talk about career counseling, literacy, and competence. I say to career practitioners, if you're not using career development theories, what exactly are you doing?
Thank you for joining Hoda's Career Info, the program where guests from across the globe share their lived career literacy experiences, real stories designed to help you actively and intentionally shape your career. Watch, listen, and learn. If you find this episode helpful, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Also, follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media for more career literacy insights. Our guest today, Sonny Wong, is a registered psychotherapist with a concentration in career-focused counseling. An international keynote presenter, he has received numerous awards for his contributions to the field. With extensive experience at the intersection of career well-being and vocational growth, his practice focuses on resolving complex career life transitions and the emotional challenges tied to professional identity. Central to his mission is elevating the entire career development sector through clinical supervision for career development practitioners. By blending counseling frameworks with practical application of career development theories, he equips practitioners with the boundaries, ethical tools, and use of self methodologies required to safely navigate client situations. Career literacy in action is about more than knowing your skills. It's about putting those skills to work creatively to shape and navigate your career. And today's guest, Sonny Wong, is a great example of what that looks like in real life. Sonny recognized his skills and strengths, thought creatively about how to use them, and turned them into a new career initiative. Stay with us and let us get inspired by Sonny's work. Thank you for joining me and Sonny Wong. Welcome back, Sonny Wong. It's such a pleasure to have you back here with some very exciting news, which we will be discussing.
Thank you, Hoda. It's just wonderful to see you again. And some of the exciting news is that I'm going to maybe see you live if you're there when I'm there in Alberta, that is.
Definitely looking forward to have you visit Alberta. So I'll start with the first question, which is a bit not on the certification yet, not on your big news.
Okay.
It's about this season's focus on career literacy and action. As I look at your bio, your word concentration is career-focused counseling. What does your typical workday look like, Sonny?
Well, Hoda, thank you for asking me. I have to first say, by law, I'm a registered psychotherapist. But my training as a registered psychotherapist is on career identity work. So I actually made up that title, Career-Focused Counseling, to distinguish myself from career advising, employment consultant, career counselor that just focuses on job search methodology and finding meaningful work. So of course I do that, but I add another layer on top of that, which is about identity construction. And how does a person who is going through career transition navigate some of their career presenting issues as they're going through job search. So many times when I sit in a room, people go, "Oh, you know what? You must be getting people a job. You must be working on a resume. You must be prepping people for interview." I said, yes, professionals need help prepping an interview, but they also have worries. It's about managing their worries before the interview question. Employers are looking for a strong professional, but what does that mean to an individual who has been unemployed? What does that mean for a foreign trained professional who say, I used to be an engineer when they're in Canada? So my job is about adding that layer of career identity and career presenting issue in the counseling, in the therapy, as we together collaborate to look for meaningful work. So my day-to-day activity is actually working with young people at a university. And, one of the things about graduation, Hoda, is that these young people are actually getting fired from the first real job. And it's a mix of emotions because in one sense, they graduated and they know they can do it. But on the other hand, is who am I? I'm not a student anymore. I can't identify myself as a major. I have to actually say my name and what I represent to the world of work. So that kind of counseling is really called career well-being and career presenting issue. And that's why when I say career-focused counseling, we're talking about the meaningful activities that they have accumulated, the qualifications that they have mastered, and the skills that they have gained to launch in the world of work. And that can happen in young people's lives, in adulthood, and people disengaging from mainstream employment. So that's my day-to-day work. And Hoda, when I first started, I was a young person that wanted to solve everyone's problems. And that became very tiresome for me because I was talking about problems in my sessions. But then, Hoda, I switched to solution-focused therapy. And I have to say, it gave me my second career. It gave my clients a sense of renewal. And that's what, part of what I want to talk about later on. But that's my day-to-day work.
I appreciate the background you provided before describing your role because that's very important for people to hear. So thank you so much for this detailed description. Definitely helpful for someone looking to get into the field or curious about it.
And it's been a long time, Hoda. I don't, we kind of had some interactions here and there, but I started my career in 1996. And in 1996, if you remember, it was our first recession in Canada. The Canadian dollar was 50 cents for US. There was talks about there's no jobs and unemployment. Home computers became a household appliance along with the internet. And the narrative was the technology is going to replace humans. Look what's happening now. We're in a recession. The Canadian dollar is not good. And we have artificial intelligence. And the narrative is we're going to be replacing a lot of work. So when it comes to career-focused counseling, what we're really talking about is that narrative, that environmental stress, that gray noise for job seekers.
I love your take on it, and I cannot wait to see what you're bringing with these thoughts in mind. Because I know, as we mentioned already, you are coming to Alberta and doing several stops with the opportunity for CDPs in Alberta to learn more about your work, but really you're also launching a unique certification.
So I've been keeping my mouth quiet for months about this. Several months ago, WCCDA approached me and said, Sonny, based on your keynote and your pre-conference workshop 2 years ago and your webinar, we have something that we want to collaborate with. And I said, oh, what is it? Well, a lot of the CDPs are having an issue with dealing with clients' mental health. A lot of the CDPs are feeling like, they need more support around what is career counseling. A lot of CDPs are feeling overwhelmed and are burnt out. And that is your area. Would you consider collaborating with us? And I said, well, let me think about this and let me see what it looks like. So together, and I own the sole property rights for this venture. So it's a 2-day immersive live in-person collaborative learning certificate. And WCCDA has called it Career Counseling in Practice. And I'm adding a tagline to it, Hoda. The tagline is, what is intentional career counseling? Meaning, when you sit in front of a client as a CDP, as an expert, what are your intentions? What are you trying to build? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to move forward when a client sits in front of you? So 2 days. The first day is a humanistic approach to navigating the complex boundary of career counseling versus mental health counseling. Now, CDP has a very special role, which is that we are the expert when it comes to job search methodology and career issues. But what do we do when a client presents an issue out of our scope? How do you manage that? And that's where we applied and learned the effective use of self. So how, as a tool, can I work with a client effectively, safely, to move them forward? Because we know with every trauma, with every crisis, with every problem, no problem is 24/7. So we're going to use that approach using a solution-focused framework along with Supra's career theory and Crumble's career theory of how to navigate the intention of the session when it comes to a resume. What is the blockage when it comes to the interview? What is the client blockage? And when there's a crisis, what do we do? So during those 2 days, it's going to be very interactive, Hoda. There's going to be case studies. We're going to be working in small groups. I'm going to be talking very little. The participants will be learning from each other. And hopefully by the end of the sessions, they're going to learn how to manage personal disclosures from clients, work collaboratively with their colleagues in their organizations, navigate very challenging, complex career presenting boundaries. More importantly, is how to foster the client's autonomy, because we know the clients are the experts in their own life. We're just riding along with them. So that's the 2-day certification. Hoda, I'm very excited. You know where it's happening? Calgary, Edmonton, and Red Deer, in that order. And from what I hear, Hoda, the numbers are coming in. So I'll send you the link for the registration too later on.
This is very exciting to hear, and I'm not surprised because those of us who are working in the field know the value of what you are going to share in this certification opportunity. But can I ask you to dig deeper for those who are questioning the value of the certification? Can you share some insight who may not have that experience but are curious about it as to why this certification is important for them to have?
This is the whole thing about career work. I still remember when I first started as a resource specialist. Oh, you know what? Clients are just coming in for resume, cover letters, and interview in LinkedIn. Why do I need to go any deeper? I'm just teaching them something. I'm a teacher. I'm not a counselor. I'm not an advisor. I'm not even a CDP person. I'm just here giving out information. Well, the value of this is that we're going to start understanding the human in human services work, because career development practitioners are mental health contributors in a human service field. So of course, absolutely, we should be staying within our jobs. But clients come in as humans, and as humans, they suffer from job loss. They suffer from underemployment. They suffer from transition. So if we're only going to focus on their unemployed self, how likely, one, are you going to get your employment stats if you're working in nonprofit and that's one of the administrative requirements? Two, what's the likelihood do you think your client is going to pick up the phone or answer your email when you're doing your monthly follow-up? Because you have to case manage your clients. And three, how are you going to sustain yourself if you're only looking at the unemployed person and not the human in the room? So the value of this certificate is what we advocate for. CDPs are more than resumes. Well, this 2-day certification is going to help us understand that statement. When we say we are more than resumes and cover letter editors, what do we mean? So that's the value.
In Canada, now that we have the national certification, there are some competencies required for us to fulfill so that we can keep our certification. So if I was that person looking to fulfill my competencies, what are the career development practitioners' goals within that certification that could be
I'm so
fulfilled?
glad you asked me that because the first day we're actually dealing with competency from the Canadian standards. We're actually, and you, by the way, the participants are also going to get pre-reading. And one of the readings is about Canadian CDP competencies. So the certificate is pulling from that. Is pulling from that and is particularly working on the least invasive approach to counseling, a solution-focused approach to counseling, and what to do when you are presented with issues that are out of your scope of practice. So 3 areas that is the daily operation of a CDP. So yes, the competency is very much a part of the certification, but the competency training is based on the standards. And I think that's why WCCDA is giving out credits for this, right? Is owning the certificate for Alberta.
And that is perfect because it does support a lot of CDPs as they try
Absolutely.
to fulfill their competencies requirements.
And Hoda, just as you know, I used to teach at a career and work certification program at a community college. And many of my students are graduates in the field now, and they're making themselves really meaningful mental health contribution. And they report back to me and they said, you know, what I learned in school was great, but now I'm dealing with real life situation and it's not enough. So when I was designing these certification modules, it really is for a practitioner who is 3 or 4 years into the field and is hitting that learning curve going, what's happening? What's happening?
I feel that regardless of where we're at, it's always nice to be in a room with other CDPs and hear their stories and then learn something new on how to deal with these stories.
And Hoda, this is the difference this time with the 2 days. When I do training across Canada, it's really just me lecturing and, you know, some questions here, some questions there, some anecdotes here. These 2 days is not for the shy. Pretty good for the introverts and the extrovert, but it's not for the shy. And it's a safe environment because it is going to be about small group learning and interactive learning from each other. I'm just there with the materials as a facilitator to guide some of the blind spots, some of the skill gaps. And as you know, there is no real right or wrong answer. There are just a standard of practice that we have to meet up by.
Absolutely. Every client is different, but we have to have the solid theoretical background.
Yeah, and Hoda, you know what I say all the time. Career counseling is not a motivational coffee chat. We have to move the client over. Helping them feel better is step 1. Moving them to a micro step is the next step. So I say to career practitioners, if you're not using career development theories, what exactly are you doing? right? So it is my job to introduce the theories in a way that they can apply it, in a way that they can explore. And that's what those 2 days are for.
It sounds like such a wonderful opportunity, loaded with learning, as you said, also opportunities for discussions and learning through discussion.
I'm really excited about it. It's not a new thing for me. It's just that the packaging of the certificate is new and it's exciting because it really is a solidification of the work that we do as CDPs. And it's another way of articulating what we do beyond job search, employment, employer relations, job developing.
And we're very excited to have you launch it here in Alberta. Sonny, you live in the East and you're launching in the West. What are your hopes and dreams for this certification?
Hold up. There's two hopes and dreams. One hope is that as much as there are talks about I want it to be just as much talk about career literacy. So my training in positive psych for the last couple of years, I've been hearing about this AI, and feeling very anxious about the AI. You know what? I can't stop things from happening, but I could certainly grow things. And this certification is really about growing our profession, is growing the human connection with the counselors and the clients. It's about growing the field and learning new skills to feel like we're a real profession. And Hoda, one of my goals is that I've been in so many rooms, so many workshops, so many trainings about AI. And you know what I hear, Hoda, from these AI instructors and AI facilitators about our job? Guess what I hear?
I like to think that they say that it remains important no matter what.
Yeah, kinda. They'd say, you know what? We have this wonderful AI tool that's here to help you, but we still need you. No, 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 no. Without us paving the way, you wouldn't have developed this AI tool. It's more about how we can help you launch those tools in our profession, not the other way around that, oh, we're coming in, we still need you. So this, my goal for this certification is to increase career literacy in our field in terms of competency, the actual counseling in the career counseling. What are your intentions? Now, my hopes is that it's happening in Alberta. I hear there are talks that it's going to BC. And I'm hoping that when we get to BC, we slowly move back province by province and going all the way to the prairies with the certification.
Definitely, we need CDPs to be more confident in their existence of their role.
Hoda, I want to capture the word that you use, confidence, in CDP work. And I want to kind of flip it around and do the counseling of it. When a CDP feels confident, what do they need to have? When a client feels confident, what do they need to have? Clarity, curiosity, and comfort. So the 2-day certification is offering CDP, not confidence, clarity in their role, comfort in working with the client, and curiosity to know more about how they can improve.
I totally agree. And I just wish you the best of luck in spreading it across Canada so we can definitely change the dialogue.
Well, and thank you for having me to explain it. And, like I said, I'm hoping that it will just be a wonderful, engaging opportunity. And I hope to see you there. Are you going to be there?
I hope I can see you there, Sonny. I do want to give you the opportunity to add anything else that you'd like to talk about or any final thoughts on the certification, if you like.
My final thought is this. A few months ago, I was in a webinar and one of the webinar participants says, Sonny, I know what you're doing. And I go, what am I doing? Because I was kind of shocked. She goes, you're starting to advocate for the human in a technology world. And I said, you know what? You're right. So as I'm going from Toronto to Alberta to BC, I hope that other people will support in this voice that I feel like I'm so alone because there's a lot of talk about AI, but there's very little talk about career counseling, literacy, and competence. So I hope we could just bring up that.
Definitely, you have my support, and I'm
I
looking
know you
forward to
do.
seeing you in Alberta. And any way I can help support what you're doing, always available. And I thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Hoda. Lovely to see you again.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Season 6 of Hoda's Career Info, the program where guests from across the globe join me to empower you to succeed. Our guest today on Hoda's Career Info was Sonny Wong. You can connect with Sonny on LinkedIn. Sonny shared, clients come in as humans, and as humans, they suffer from job loss. So I have to ask you, if you or someone you know has recently lost a job, what are you really navigating? Do you feel it's simply the search for another job, or is it the disruption of identity, security, confidence, and a sense of purpose? Reflect and share. Remember that you can watch Hoda's Career Info on YouTube or listen to the episode on your favorite podcast app. To let me know if you are interested in an opportunity to talk about your career literacy skills, you can send me a direct message on my website, rightcareerfit.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media, and together, let's increase career literacy. I am your host, Hoda, career and academic coach. I cannot wait to hear your reflections on career literacy in action. Until next time, take a moment to pause, rethink, and confidently assert your beliefs, experiences, abilities, values, and interests, also known as your BV.